Fear not, denizens. Parade is here, aka the new voice of freedom, aka father of the sea and sun, aka king of the core. And I'm here with my lovely co-host, the host of the Celebration Cantina, Uncle Sheev on twitch.tv, aka the Wizard of Oscars. He has Unlimited. I have none other than Eli from the Fan Awakens. How are you today?
Bittersweet, my friend, bittersweet. I will get tired of hearing those intros every week. Hopefully we'll hear them again sooner or later with the next project, but I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you so much for being here. Yes, it is bittersweet. We have hit the final arc of Andor Season 2 and Andor, the show in general, and we're here to talk about it and review it and search our feelings. But before we get too far, I just want to make sure you guys are subscribed to the reigncore channel. You can also check out reigncoreclothing.com to get cool shirts. I'm actually rocking one today, and I was feeling a little imperial today. I'm rocking the Long Live the Empire for some of my fallen favorite ISB characters in this show. and
Good choice.
You can also find Raincore on Etsy, where we sell awesome stickers. And when the new Star Wars video games come out, Twitch, Rain_core. Also check out Eli again on the aforementioned Fan Awakens Instagram, Uncle Sheev on Twitch, where you're actually doing Twitch streams. What games are you playing actually?
Right now we're playing the Star Wars Fortnite season, So it's been a fun time. Feels like a little Star Wars closest thing we'll get to Battlefront 3, so we're trying to enjoy it while it lasts.
Yeah, I saw something online where they had like Dark Jar Jar running around.
I just got that one too. Yep.
I was like, that's fun. That's fun.
It's just fun.
Actually, I showed off my shirt. We do our fit checks here.
And
one of the and this is like a staple of the Andor reviews. So what you got on today?
Yeah, you're representing for the Empire. I'm representing for hope, So I got this shirt from Star Wars Celebration Japan. It's got the binary sunset, looking upon it, hopeful for what's coming next. I think that's fitting for how the series went.
Rebellions are built on hope. These shirts were built on hope.
As the hotel lobby clerk said.
We gotta get his name.
I know.
But we're gonna be talking about the last 3 episodes of the Andor show, and we're gonna search our feelings. So Eli, search your feelings. Tell us what you know to be true. How did you feel about these last 3 episodes?
I was a little nervous going in because I loved 7, 8, and 9 so much.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh man, I hope that they're able to keep me going on like this high, because I thought those episodes were fantastic, some of the best entertainment I've seen over that span of time. And they started off very strong. I thought episode 10 was very, very good. So I really liked all 3 episodes. I still think 7, 8, and 9 is probably my favorite chunk of the season, but I really rocked with these 3. I thought that, of course, we don't get a whole lot of like K2, and Tony Gilroy kind of explains that, and it does make sense why.
Yeah,
it's more of a storytelling issue than like, I'm sure there's stories to tell there, and I'm sure if they stuck with that larger format, we would have seen more. But some good emotions there. I was on board. I'm curious though, what did you feel about these last 3?
I
That's what I want to know.
I actually enjoyed them quite a bit. As for TV season finales, I think it ended, quote unquote, ended well, right? Leading into Rogue One. I agree. The same boat as you. I really enjoyed episode 10 quite a bit. And on rewatch for 11 and 12, I feel like you smush both of them together because it does end on a cliffhanger there for 11 going into 12. There was a lot of people, for those who didn't know, this past weekend, Burgundy Squadron was invited to go to Lucasfilm in San Francisco to watch episode 12, and then right after they did a Rogue One screening. So it was kind of cool to be in a theater like we did for episode 1 when we were in Star Wars Celebration Japan, with a bunch of people and the vibes. And what was great was there was probably about 40% who didn't watch that last episode. because they asked like, "Oh, who's seen this last episode?" And like people were
Nice.
like raising their hands like they didn't see it. So I was like, "Okay, cool. We're here to watch it together or experience it together as a group for the people who didn't see it." So Holoscan database, he was in my row, and I kept on kind of looking over at him just to see his reactions on stuff. And it was
Yeah.
kind of like watching a kid watching something for the first time. He was like, whoa, the things that were happening in the
I
in the
love that.
show. So it was really cool. Just taking it in again, and then the sound there at Lucasfilm is actually fantastic. Like the surround sound they have is like top notch.
Dialed in, huh?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So that was really cool. Like all the explosions are super loud, and just kind of seeing things on a bigger format, things that you wouldn't see like at home on even on a big screen at home, just because it's just blown
Yep.
up so big. So, shout out to Burgundy Squadron. Shout out to Lucasfilm for having us, and then Commander Maddox for coordinating all of that for us to go. And it was a great time. But yeah, I really liked these 3 episodes. Again, it ended well in my opinion as TV shows go, and Andor is top tier amongst all their Star Wars stuff. It's going to be really hard to follow up, with other
Sure. Yeah.
subsequent
It is.
other projects that's going to come around, or something that's going to try to replicate Andor, but to a lesser degree because it's not Tony Gilroy. So I'm kind of worried about that, but we're talking about the episode, so I enjoyed them. We'll give our ratings and our as we go through because this
Still
time,
forming.
yeah, we're gonna talk about it and we'll figure it out towards the end. We'll be a little bit more transparent about that this time because I usually tell Eli, I say, hey, make sure you have your rating in mind, and as we talk, it'll go like up and down. So,
Yep.
but the last time we talked about Andor, I was saying what would happen with Lonnie, and it starts with Lonnie, and my heart sank because I was like, this is not a good sign for my
No.
boy Lonnie, and it wasn't because he rang the bell. They said he rang the bell. The big emergency. Luthen goes and meets him, and they have a great scene together, and everything is being revealed. Right, we're at the last act, and Lonnie and Luthen are going back and forth. Lonnie's like, my wife and my daughter, they're hidden, but we need you to keep us safe, get us out of here. And he's like, what have you done? Right? He's like, what did you do?
Yeah.
And he's like, I have he had Dedra's certification codes for like a year, and then the night before went in there for like 2 or 3 hours and digging, and he was assuming Luthen would have made him do it earlier. I don't actually think Luthen would have, in my opinion, because it would set off flags that someone's digging through ice. But I thought the scene was great, and it broke my heart that Lonnie gets killed at the end of it. But what did you think?
I thought that scene was excellent too. Just because you go there and sitting in the open, and it just feels like, all right, this is a big risk, And Lonnie was so adamant. I mean, he's frantic. Like, you promised you would get my wife and my kid and me out. We got to go out. And I love that Luthen even. I mean, at this point, I assume he knows he's going to kill him, right? So he's telling him, "Oh, we're going to go to Yavin. We're
Yeah,
going to
we're going
Yavin."
Yavin.
Like, he's
Yeah,
telling me where we're going, and I'm like, "All right, that maybe is going to help
maybe.
me." But then when he's very adamant that he has something big, and I just love that tense back and forth
Mm-hmm.
where it's like they're asking each other the same thing over and over, and he's like, "You got to tell me what it is. You have to assure my family's good. You got to tell me." And
Right.
it finally, lets him in on it. Um, and obviously Luthen, I I mean, it's Luthen's character. You can't. I think he understands you can't leave Lonnie to chance. He will squirm and he'll say all to try and protect his family. If he got captured by the Empire, he would tell them anything to if he thought that his family might be okay. You
Right.
know. So I
Yeah.
think that it sucks. It
So
sucks that Lonnie went out that way, but
do you think? Okay.
um,
So do you think he needed to be killed though?
I do because later in the episode, I do have a feeling that Luthen was less than confident that he was getting out of there. And if he wasn't getting out of there,
Oh,
I
I
don't
see
think
what
he
you're
was
saying.
confident that Lonnie was getting out of there.
I see what because he did say like Judge Romero's already like coming at you. You don't have much time,
And
and
to not skip ahead, but when he insisted that he goes to burn it and not Clea, it felt like, all right, he wasn't gonna get out. You can't risk Lonnie getting caught because he knows too much, and I
Yeah.
just felt like, man,
Oof.
it sucked for him to go out that way. But oh my gosh,
Actually, too, and Claire didn't barely got out. So
yeah, it
so
barely got out.
so yeah, I think I want to think it was more of a mercy killing versus
Yes, yes, that's a good point.
out of just like cold bloodedness. There's probably a little bit of it because like you almost ruined it in a way.
Sure, I
But I
think it's
mean,
a
they've
bit of both though.
already
It's tough because
God,
you think
yeah,
about the people that Luthen has killed, and I go back to the Tay thing, the
yeah,
in the beginning. It's like that's not nearly as big of a deal as this. He had him killed
true.
on the spot, and part of me wonders. I mean, who knows if he ever actually intended on
Oh,
letting
saving him.
Lonnie out. Lonnie was a good soldier. He did everything that was asked of him and beyond and
Yeah,
beyond. Um, but that was that, and I also love the way that they handled it with when they cut back to him, you see him there sitting from behind,
yeah, just kind
and
of
then when they show the front, he's just
nice little
it was
hole.
a pretty that one hurt a little bit,
That one hurt because I wanted him to get out and be in the rebellion, but
Yep.
it just
It'd be
wasn't in
cool
his time.
lore to be like, oh, Lonnie was in that battle, or he died on
Yeah.
Hoth. I don't know.
Send him to Minrao too. Maybe he could be going through
Maybe he wouldn't
the
be
week.
fighting. He'd be at the table or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Send him in.
But
Yeah.
no, and what sucks, unsung, uncelebrated.
Yep.
No one. I mean, the
Exactly.
audience knows Lonnie Young, but
No one. Yep.
nobody knows what he did. Um, but yeah, there was a. I don't know if this is intentional, but he said there was a line I picked up where he says the Emperor's energy plan is a lie, all of it, and I thought of Han Solo about the Force. True, all of it, right? I was like, oh, I
That's a
wonder if
cool
that's
little.
a.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah, I
cool
don't know.
connection.
That's
I
just
didn't
me.
pick that up, but that's cool.
Yeah, that's just me. That's just me. Um, and then again, you went back to the burning thing. That was like a cool scene where he's just kind of pouring whatever that liquid is, and it's like burning those coils. Because they show that in the trailer too. What is that?
Yes.
So I thought that
Yeah.
was interesting, leading into the doorbell, and he's like, "Who's here?" You know what I mean? Like, and then he's like, looks, and it's turn around. It's my girl Dedra.
Been waiting
Like,
for this moment a long
I've
time.
been dreaming of it. So many versions I can't even recall is what she says. But before that, she asks, "Is everything real?" in the gallery. I love this. Is okay. So
Love that. See,
this is
I was gonna point that out too.
dude. So I forget because again, second watch on my first watch, heart sinks for Lonnie. Someone rings, and the tension is so good in the show. It rings. I'm like, who is it? Who is it? And Luthen walks up and he's doing his kind of like frowny face, and then he puts on more jovial character. Back's turned and turns around. It's Dedra. I scream. I go, oh! like oh, because we've watched all these characters and they've been around, but never. There's a few that have actually crossed,
Yep.
right? Even like I think was it Clay and Lonnie at the party, like that crossed, or Krennic being there and Luthen and Clay,
Krennic and Mon Mothma, and like
Krennic and Mon Mothma.
even Andor and Cyril again. After so long.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like this is one of those big ones. These two giants on screen for this show, one for the Rebellion, one for the Empire, right? And
Yep.
so good. Is everything real? Only two pieces of questionable provenance in the gallery, and he shows her the Notlin bleeder. Notlin being Kit Fisto's species, if you didn't know, and he's like, I don't know if it's real or not. And what's cool is him using it on himself proves that it was real, and he's more real than Dedra in that moment too. There's so many like layers. Oh, it's so good. But what'd you think?
Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting to talk about that scene too, just because. Yeah, you're right. It's so tense. Even when he's burning, the console, and when the bell rings, he's such a great actor.
Yeah, he's good.
Stellan's so great. Even it's just he doesn't have to say anything, but you just feel it in his face and in the way they shoot it. You're right. When he goes out there and Deja turns around, it's incredible. And I just love when she walks in. They're playing this coy game,
Yeah.
for a little bit until Deidre finally pulls the curtain, and she, like you said, she's been waiting for this. And I love that Luthen's like, I've known you this whole time. I've known everything that, it's almost like the Cyril and Andor moment, but very different, and
Oh, right.
these two people who have been playing this cat and mouse game,
Yeah.
but it's very different because the mouse has been playing the cat, quite a bit
Yeah.
the whole way around.
Uh,
Yeah, excellent stuff.
Even Deborah Go, is that her name? Deborah Go.
Yes.
Deborah Go. Deborah Go.
Oh man, is it
Double
Denise?
check. Oh, Denise Go, not Deborah. Denise
Yeah,
Go. Yeah, I think Deborah.
I know.
Denise Go. I love that Dedra in this moment is also being jovial, something we haven't seen in this whole show,
Yes.
where she's putting on airs, right? She's also pretending to be, oh, I'm just here, want to show you some cool art piece thing, and just, kind of ask questions, even though she's like trying to trap him, right? And I love that she pulls out the Imperial Star Path unit from the case, because she puts the case on the thing, and I'm like, oh,
Yes.
what does she
I
have?
know.
And then it just like makes like the weight of it just clunk on the thing. That was the beginning of Andor, right? Where Cassian and Luthen were meeting up over this stolen piece of equipment. And we said it before. She's like, dreamed of this moment, like so many
This
times.
is her dream.
Her dream, her obsession.
This is her dream to catch this guy. But also, yeah, there is like a real excitement there. You know what I think of almost in a way? And it's almost like, you see like Bill Belichick on the sideline, they're winning all these games, perfect season, whatever.
Yeah.
It's not until you win the Super Bowl. And this is like her Super Bowl, this is the crowning achievement. And there's so much more to it too, with how she's essentially forgotten or pushed aside all imperial regulation to make this happen,
Yeah.
which is so interesting. But I mean, Luthen obviously had to know this day would eventually come.
Of course.
But I just loved the way that it was handled. You're right, when she's gloating and he's turned his back to her, and he's ready to off himself. And I love that she continues to gloat until he's not responding, and then she realizes
yeah, he stabs himself. Yeah, it's so good. I even love where she's like, "You disgust me." She's like, you're just like, oh, and you've been hiding here this whole time, like and she says like imperial peace, like you've been enjoying what we've established for, in this city in Coruscant, you've been enjoying that, like you're just like a little parasite, right? And he's like, he does mention the rebellion's flown off because it's everywhere now, which we get more towards later in the arc, where Nemik's manifesto is great. But he says there's a whole galaxy out there waiting to discuss.
Dude, that line is incredible. And it's just this does feel very Star Wars to me. It's almost like the Luke scene in episode 8, where the rebellion, the Jedi don't die with me, that sort of thing. But he's like, you fought the years to catch me, but it doesn't matter. You can it's too late. Things are done. I am not the rebellion. The rebellion is so much more than me. And yeah, you're right. That line definitely stuck with me. With there's a whole galaxy waiting to disgust you. Oh my gosh. That's
and then he topples over, and I love that she's like, you gotta save him. And like she's having like because if he dies, everything was for naught. All the rules that she broke, it's gonna be up for her, right? Which it is. And just kind of going through her moment to moment arc. It's like, you found out that what did he say to here? He's like, oh, you did this on my day off,
oh my gosh. Yeah. You waited for my day off to do this.
And it's all falling apart. Like they find out that Young is dead, right? And they're like, that's weird. And then wait, she went for Access by herself. That's also weird. Oh wait, Access like almost kills himself. Now we can't interrogate him, which has been her issue. She's like, you've been interrogating people and I can't get the information out of them. Now going in by herself, she couldn't stop him from. I thought he was going to stab her, to be honest.
I thought I was like, all right. When he handed her the knife, I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. This is tense, she has the blade in her hand. When she handed it back, then I'm like, no, I did have a feeling that he was going to get himself. But
that's what I would have done.
You get a 5-minute Luthen fight scene with
Dedra.
With Dedra. But I'm like, with that scene and all too, it's crazy too that she does this and then she gets arrested, which I'm jumping ahead, but like
we're talking about it.
Necessarily because of the Luthen thing. I mean, sure, that's part of it, but it's because the codes, and I don't want to get too far ahead, but that scene with her and Ben Mendelsohn
Oh
is,
my god.
oh my,
Oh my gosh. So good. Let's talk about
but
it now, because let's talk
wait,
about the Dedra thing, right?
okay, sure,
Go
that's
ahead. Go
fair.
ahead.
Yeah,
You're
let's do
already
that.
on that point, so
Yes,
continue.
because she's arrested, and it makes sense. She's like, "Oh, call oh my
Partagas.
gosh, what a guess?
Partagas.
Yeah, call. He sent me,
Yeah, he sent me up here to get
and
you. This is the ISB Marshal, by the way.
yes, and she's like, well, then let's get this over with, I guess,
Yeah.
and they go, and it does make sense. Like, okay, they've warned her about this. They've told her to stop. This is not Axis isn't hers anymore,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
she's continued on it. But I love when Ben Mendelsohn shows up. He's so excellent in everything he does. But when he's here, and he's asking her like, why do you think I am here? Like, what's the one thing that could get me all the way out here? And that's when it's like, it really ramps up. And I just love the way she plays it.
Yeah.
She's very good with like facial expressions and sort of conveying emotions without words as well, which so many people in the show are great at. But we hear it like, say the word. And when she finally says Death Star, it's crazy because, that's, I don't know, man. It's menacing. And Ben Mendelsohn is so good in that scene when he's pacing around. And I heard the finger thing was improv
Oh
by
yeah.
Ben,
Yeah.
who he just pokes top of her head. I still think that Denisko needs to be in a horror movie ASAP.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. Great, dude.
uh,
Even before he goes in, right? Because I'm like,
yes,
he's here, right?
yeah,
Body cam's off. He goes and turns off turns off the camera. Like, oh man, this is bad news. And he's just like him and Forrest Whitaker just eating up these moments, right, where they're on screen,
yes,
and just inner space, right, just like totally inner space, and he's like, say it, right, just very masochist. And then I'll just like, you're beneath me. Like, he brought her in saying like, oh yeah, I heard you're good at your thing. But all his quips, right, it still carries into Rogue One, how like quippy he is, and he's just
yeah,
in Rogue One, he's like, "Oh look, Lear's back from the dead," right? It's just like he's like that. So to get more of that here, even when she's like, he's interrogating her, like he goes, "You would have made a great rebel spy, right? You're in the saying stuff
yes,
like that, like, oh, it's your stupidity." Like he's just like putting her down about how, like, because he's like, "Why do you think I would be down in this basement talking to you? What do you think I'm here
yes.
for?" Like, he's asking her, who else knows about the Death Star? She's like, party gas. He's like, idiot, tell me someone who I don't know. Like, I obviously put you two on the Death Star thing. Like, who else?
Well, no, the thing with the Death Star though is
Oh,
she wasn't
right.
even
She's
supposed to
actually
know
not
it,
supposed to know.
which
Right,
I
right,
think
right,
is
right, right.
so I think it's so good because
Yeah.
Lonnie dug through her files and found files that she wasn't even supposed to have,
Yeah, that's
which
true. Right.
really it's Dedra that is responsible for so much happening in the rebellion, so much key information because she held onto it. And I love that she's like, oh, it was sent to me by accident. I should have deleted it. My bad. Like
Mm-hmm.
thinking that's it, but that's not it, because Lonnie got that information that she wasn't supposed to have, gave it to Luthen, who gave it to
Yeah.
Clay, who gave it to, and I think that there's always a bigger fish in the empire, and I think that I mean, getting Axis seems like it would be quite a big fish to land, um, but
But not a,
Daetra's story is so tragic because,
yeah.
yeah, you're right, but I mean, no one, again, just like Lonnie, no one is gonna remember Dedra. You know what I
No.
mean? In the world,
Right,
no one
right.
cares. No one's gonna know the name. No one's gonna know. And even capturing Luthen, what did it do for you?
Yeah, there was a great point. I follow New Rockstars. They do like their kind of their breakdown, and what was great
Sure.
was they were talking about selfishness versus selflessness, and
Yeah.
when it comes to those themes, the rebellion. Going back to what you said about Luthen, the rebellion is bigger than him. Like, it's already
Yep.
out there. It's gone. It's flown away. Where within the empire, it's very selfish. Everyone's kind of like trying to get one up on each other, trying to get their own glory. Even Palpatine's not even really telling them what he wants to do, right? He's like telling them
Yeah.
enough to like suppress and cause fear, but he wants to be immortal, right? So, and no one's talking about that in these shows or whatever, to where they're like in the know, right? They're like, oh,
Yep.
we just want glory to, now we got this super weapon, and then we can just And so even watching when he leaves, I forgot exactly what he says, but she's like standing up and she's like, this is how, you know, we got to find Clea, the assistant, or his daughter.
Yes.
And she knows too. Like, that's the next person we got to get. And he's like, grabs her by the head and he just like sits her back down. And he's like, he says something in the lines of like, well, this is going to be, we'll be able to do it without you. Like, we got it.
Yep.
You could just hang out here. And I'm so curious what the dialogue was behind the glass, because now she could see them, which was interesting because I don't know if you could actually see if she could actually see him before she walked when she was in there.
Yeah.
But I wonder if they told Krennic that Lonnie Young is dead now. I'm curious what the conversation was in that moment, because even Partagas didn't know Young was dead. Hearts did.
Yep.
And
because he's like, the reason I'm late, is because Lonnie's dead.
Yeah, and they're like, wait, what? Like, yeah, so like everybody's getting the information at the same time, and which I really like about this episode is it's all about that information kind of going through the chains of the Empire and the chains of the Rebellion, right? Trying to get all Death Star, Galen Erso, and all that stuff leading into the final act, or the final episode. But yeah, it's so good. Even the moment with Ben Mendelsohn, Partagast, where he calls him Leo, like his first name, like, you're boys, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bit of respect there. I forgot exactly the dialogue, but he's like, yeah, he's like, good luck. Good luck, Leo, right?
Yeah.
Kind of thing. He's like, oh, and poor Partagast, man,
oh man, but that was also an excellent scene, that things that you don't think about, because I mean, I didn't think about until the scene where Partagast and Krennic have a bit of tension there, where Krennic's getting on him for letting these plans to get out, and from Partagast, and he's like, we've done everything we can and kept this secret for years. It's a planet destroying moon-sized weapon.
Yeah.
And clearly you have to, I mean, it's not like you have to have people working on this thing.
Right.
You have to have, and that made me think about, like, it's that big. You have a lot of people working, you have a lot of people planning. Like, it's not like a small crew who can build a moon-sized base, and they've kept it quiet for years. And it doesn't matter.
Last day,
it
really.
doesn't. Yeah. Yes.
Last day.
Exactly. I'm like, man, and even then, that's the Empire though. It's almost like it's very Sith based in terms of like they're always after each other, and like
yeah,
you work together, but you're always trying to, you're not
surpass, and yeah.
Yes, yeah. So it's like almost, it's very, I don't know. I think that's a kind of a parallel between the Sith philosophy, World 2 stuff.
Yeah. Well, the other cool thing too was they were like, okay, well, how should we get Clea, right? It's Krennic and Partagast, and he's like, just say she has a disease, right? Which is a callback to the very first season where he's like, oh, the rebellion is a disease. We're healthcare, really. But they were like, if they say there's a rebel or someone of note, right, fighting against us, people are going to help her, right? They're going to hide her, they'll get her, they'll transport her. But if we say she's ill, then they won't. And then they sent everybody out, right, to go find her, which leads up to the attack on the safe house. There's nobody able to get there in time because they're all like out and about. And just Partagast is so uncomfortable, flipping the switches on the thing, him sweating. It's the first time he's like kind of losing it, right? Because he's been kind of buttoned up and just on everybody about it, but he knows he's under the finger of Krennic, right? At this point. And which leads to a great scene. Jumping ahead, but I just want to talk about all this ISB stuff since we're on it.
Of course.
Where I can't remember the other ISB guy. He goes, hey, it's when Nemec's speech is playing and he's listening to it, and he's like, have you heard this before? He's like, yeah, parts of it. So it's going around. Nemec's manifesto is circulating around the galaxy. The rebellion has flown. We're hearing it. And they're like, hey, we need you downstairs. They're here to talk to you or meet you. And he's like, hey, can I have a moment to gather my thoughts? And he's like, sure. And he just like leaves the room, sits there, try to compose himself, and he puts the blaster on the thing. And oh my gosh, it was so great. The seeing it again, the loud theater of Lucasfilm. But that blaster fires, it's loud, and the stormtroopers like jump, and he puts out his.
They flinch, yeah.
So good. That was another one of my favorite scenes. The ISB is so cool to watch. and it fall apart from the inside out.
Yeah, I mean, it's just such an interesting dynamic that, I mean, obviously, we know the Empire's evil, and we've gotten things over the years that give us a bit of more insight into it. You see it at some points in like Rebels and things like
Yeah.
that, and there's books that have certainly done it. But this has been the best representation
Yeah.
of just how ruthless the Empire is with its own, and how the hierarchy, I mean, it's rough. He did it. Partagas did, I would say, a pretty darn good job for years, and
Yeah.
given everything that he had to keep handled,
Yeah.
but it all comes down to that, and he knew that
Well,
that was it for him.
I think also too, he's the manager of young Dedra. Where
Yep,
it's like,
that's fair.
so
That's fair.
all of that's happening under his watch.
Good point.
You know what I mean? Like, it's
The
not
Loon
just
thing is
a
a big one.
secret. Yeah, it's not just a secret. You had a rat in here the whole time and you didn't know, because they were even coming down on him about arresting people and getting information over a week or 10
Yep.
days, right? So as much as a tight ship he's supposed to be running, you had a rat the whole time is not good. Do you think he would have been
No,
sent to Narkina?
pretty old. I don't know. They might have decommissioned him themselves. Maybe he would have been sent, but
Later.
I think it's tough to say. Yeah, maybe he's a little. Plus, he's pretty high up there. He knows a lot. I don't think they just. I don't know. I feel like
Yeah,
he
you're
knows too
right.
much. So just send him to Narkina. Um, obviously, we saw who else got sent to a Narkina type
Yeah.
prison. Which what a story.
What a great,
What a
God, it was so good. I mean, yeah, I'll always be. She talks to Luthen about freedom and you have no bounds and everything. And then Lonnie even mentions it. She's like, she knows no bounds. She always crosses the line. She pushes the boundaries. And now she's in Narkina where it's so like structured in such a way where it's like,
yes.
here's the food, here's what we do, here's how many days. I was hoping to see like how many days, how many shifts they put
She'd
on
been
her.
there.
Like obviously
Yeah. Oh,
forever.
that. Yes.
But they flashed her at the end and it's just like you see the white and you see the orange and you're like, what? Because we predicted she would have got promoted to the Death Star.
Yep.
Definitely.
That's another great example of like you have choices, right? I mean, it's so easy to kill that character.
Yeah.
It's like we don't know them beyond this show,
Right.
and it's just there's so many people who would have a satisfying character moment to deal that blow. When you had Cassian and Bix and
Yeah.
Luthen and Clay, like there's so many people, especially with what happens with Luthen. You could have easily had Clea, kill her, but this was such
Yeah.
it's a better ending for the character. It's more. I mean, it's pretty brutal. She's
Yeah.
totally not. She's totally stricken from the record books, and this is the end. She's just going to be working in this prison. And I mean, I don't know what happens once the rebels win, but I mean,
Oh, true, actually. But she's probably building the second Death Star.
Yes, yeah.
Right? Like they weren't gonna stop
I
at
would assume
one.
so. No.
So, so yeah, it's such a great arc for that character, even like just the motivations and the themes behind it, like her losing everything, being obsessive just as much as Cyril was over Andor. She was obsessed over Axis, right? Trying to find who Luthen
Yep.
was, and could have gotten him if she just did the right way.
Yes. It's a excellent point. Excellent point.
Um,
If they would have went in with that, yeah, if she wouldn't have gone into gloat and have her moment and run the victory lap, yeah, we would have gotten him, yeah.
yeah, because you just walk in, cuff him, then do your victory speech.
Like, even when he walks up to the door, you could have been standing there alone.
Yeah,
He opens the door and then they just come in and arrest the old man.
yeah, get all the
um,
information you want. But no, she at fault. She's just at fault.
for the glory.
But bro, we got the Clea and Luthen origin story, dude. I
Didn't expect that.
You didn't. You doubted
No,
it.
I didn't.
You
I
doubted
doubted
it so much. I was like, I need it. I need it. Surprisingly, because most of the time I don't really like. Even like, I don't need a Boba Fett origin story. I never needed a Han Solo origin story.
Agreed.
But I'm like, these characters are so complex. I really wanted to know where they came from, and they gave me enough where it didn't. It filled that gap for me. Right?
Yeah.
It's like they show Luthen ear, whatever, like rail backwards,
Yeah.
which was like, okay, I gotcha. I didn't mind the deep fake face replacement. I thought it looked good.
Yeah,
For
me
the
either.
most part. It didn't really like take it out.
Yep.
But I assumed it was like Imperial, Imperial times. He was in the Imperial Army and they were killing people. One thing I saw online was it's this, and what's there's another thing. They said, I think the writers forgot that the Empire hasn't been around for 50 years. It's only been around for like 19, right, is the full Imperial reign. So it's like pretty big jump depending on how old Clay is at that age where they show her and then the age she is now. You can make it work. But even, that's the other thing. Dedra saying she was in Imperial Kinder Care or something like that. Kinder Block.
Yeah.
And just like, I'm pretty sure Dedra's like 30s, And I'm like, the Empire wasn't around when you were 5. So,
yeah.
But that's fine. That's just a very small thing. But it serves the story, better with it. Like,
Sure.
But
so I was trying to look up ages and things of characters.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I would assume Dedra's like in her 30s. Clay could be like, he could probably pass for like mid 20s,
Yeah, I think she could pass as like a younger 20.
Yeah.
Like young 20s to mid. Yeah, I agree.
But what was cool on second watch, he does tell her to move, and then she there's a beat, and then she smirks, and then they show it later on where when he tells her, I don't think but he tells her like, when I tell you to move, you move, right? So a little callback, yes. Like an earlier thing if you didn't catch it the first time. But what do you think of the origin story stuff?
I mean, I think once they started with what was that line he said in the beginning when Luthen is getting dressed and they're having that talk before the flashback and she's saying everything has to go perfect, and he said, what does he say?
He says we're all out of perfect or something.
We're all out of perfect, but didn't he say something like you took all the perfect or something?
It's something to the lines of like we're all out of perfect.
I have to go back and look, but
it's not about her being perfect though. That's not what he said.
Okay, but I watched something. I haven't watched any of the the after show things.
Oh, the declassified.
Yeah, the declassified. But I did watch this one.
Okay, yesterday. This is the only one I didn't watch yet.
It's the only one I watched. Yeah. And there was something very interesting that the actress who plays Clea said.
Yeah.
Where, they're talking about the father-daughter type relationship, and they have the line where, so we're father and daughter now, and he's like, when we need to be,
when we need to be, yeah.
And she was saying that, it's not a father-daughter relationship between them because she's never fully let go of the resentment of what he was responsible for with her family and being there. Yeah. And that that never got fully let go, but love kind of grew around that in a way. And I was like, that's very interesting.
Yeah.
Because it does come off as like, okay, maybe it's like there's a father-daughter dynamic to a degree that they show, I guess, but I just think it's pretty complex character that in that way that I really appreciated.
Well, I also think because Luthen has so much guilt. I think about that stuff. Does even make it stop the name of the episode. Them just massacring whoever this planet was, these people are, isn't sitting right with him. Very similar to Finn, right? Where like, oh, we're killing people like this? This is crazy. And what other atrocities he did prior to this. So
yeah.
Which also goes back to Lonnie. He has this quote unquote daughter in his life, but it's still not the kinship, the love, the joy that most of the other characters get to have. Like one, and it's so, I don't know if it's purposeful, but I want to think it is. Lonnie has a family. Andor has an adoptive family. We learned that. Family continues. The name of the show is called Andor. He has his mother. He had a sister. He has a child. And the Andor thing, it's family dynamic there. Legacy, not in the same way of like Skywalker's, but Luthen doesn't get that. He's not celebrated in any of the original trilogy or the sequel trilogy.
No.
Even Clea, I don't want to go back to Yavin. They have the whole conversation in this safe house where they're like, just come with us. Like, I'm not gonna leave you behind. Just come, please. And she's like, no. But yeah, I like that. I wish I heard that or watched the declassified, but yeah, I could tell that it's not just it's still the rebellion is
yes
the priority. Taking down the Empire is actually the um, for them, not, oh, we're just, even her going
Yeah.
to kill him, essentially make sure he doesn't talk. That's essentially why she's going up there,
Yes.
right? It's to protect the rebellion. So
And what a great, I mean, what a great episode, because she finally got her due, being the main focus of an episode. And
yeah, yeah, yeah,
I know we
yeah.
had talked about it. Would it happen? Would it not? With the
Mm-hmm.
flashback thing, of course, we talked about that. I was a doubter.
You
I was
doubted
glad I
it.
was wrong, because I liked what they kind of did there and how they went through it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, when they go through that, I mean, once she goes to the hospital and, uh, you know, makes her way up there, it was great just to see that this is like, she's clearly responsible for so much of this as well. I know that Luthen is the face of it, of their thing, but Clay is probably equally as important, if not more, because I think Luthen would have fell off the rail a lot earlier,
Yeah. And
without
then
her.
even just the execution of her and Luthen putting out plans versus how Dedra and Cyril, like, they can't execute. These characters can't. And this is how well they do it.
Yep.
Because even the ISB were like, yeah, we're thinking it's like 3 people. Right? And they're like,
Yes. Yes.
no, so actually it was only one. It's this girl. Um, and just her, even just whatever she really had on her, kind of like they dug out like in the safe house, there was a bag that had like a little hacking thing to get into the lockers, very
Yes.
akin to the how the droids like use their little
Little scomp
the
links.
scomp
Yeah.
links, yeah, to get in there. On the outfit, the nurse, and like very still espionage is going down. And then the going back and forth, why she's so hardened, what she's gone through. So bartering thing, her just like, I'm not gonna smile. Daughter now, and he's like, I'm Luthen, you're Clea. Like that whole thing's great. Going into seeing the Empire hunting down a sniper, right, in that one town. They're like, oh yeah, there's someone shot an Imperial last night, and they just keep finding the murderer, and they're just killing people in the
Yeah.
streets, right? Even a younger kid, was probably close to her age. She's just like, there's so much injustice. We got to do something. And he's like, we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose, we're gonna lose, but there's gonna be a moment where we're ready, and then we're gonna win. And so
Yeah.
I love seeing that, and that's when he tells her, we're gonna move, and then the terrorist attack basically on Naboo is so cool because him like, are you hardened enough to hit the button to detonate? Like, are you ready for this? And she's like, I am.
Yep.
And then like the whole thing of just looking at the explosion before it happens, he's like, don't look, right? You're gonna give yourself away, which lends into her going through the hospital, not looking at
Exactly.
cameras, looking works there. So good.
They just, I mean, I just love the sequence as well. I mean, it did feel, it's like another Bourne
Yeah,
type
yeah,
of
yeah.
scene where,
100%.
she just takes the patient in the wheelchair and, going up. It's like this alien's gonna end up, who knows where, but,
Yeah.
just working through it, and then just, I mean, commandeering the nurse outfit and
Yeah.
going, she got through most of that building, without having to pull the blaster. But once it
Mm-hmm.
got there, she was ready,
Yeah.
and she had a pretty great scene. She makes it to loot, and it's great too that all this is only possible because of the Daedra getting arrested. Because if she wasn't arrested, I feel like they would have had a much stronger presence on that
Yeah.
floor still.
Yeah.
But she gets in there, and even the scene itself is, it's well done. She had like, she's emotional, but she doesn't hesitate really either. It's just, this is it. And Luthen going out that way was not, I mean, it's not what I expected at all, which I don't know that any of these storylines were exactly what I expected outside of maybe Cassian, which I think is awesome. How often does that happen where you have, five characters, whatever it ends up, they all end up in places that I didn't necessarily expect.
Sure. Yeah.
Um,
I think that's
which is
lends
just
to
a
the
testament
writing.
to the writing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And even just the moment, it's her saying goodbye, right? Her getting her closure,
Yep.
and then how it just sits on his body,
They
his
do let you, yeah.
is like, man, it's crazy. And it's like, oh, because he's such a great character. And again,
Yes, yeah.
he could have been out in a firefight or a blaster bolt or an explosion. Like those are normal Star
Yep.
Wars deaths, but he was able to, do it himself essentially, and with her help to avoid any interrogation. I really liked this episode. And I'm not saying 11 and 12 are bad. I just like the sneaking into the hospital, exploding.
Me too.
You know, it's just so cool. And watching everyone kind of flail around and trying to figure things out on the fly. Like, I felt like it was a very nice, like, tight episode. Like, every scene was like very important. And so that brings us into 11, where she is reaching out to Leia's in the safe house, reaching out to Cassian, and we get like a little bit of K2SO and Melshi and Cassian kind of.
The set dressing of this show is excellent. That's one thing I want to mention. It's so good. Yeah, Luthen's antiquity shop, but also the difference in the the status of his home compared to when Bix was there. I mean, it's like it's just. I mean, Melshi's there, and they're playing cards, and it's kind of messy, and like just.
I didn't notice. I got to take a look at that.
Yeah, go back and look. It's not,
like a bachelor pad
like,
versus.
It's like the Millennium Falcon with Lando versus Millennium Falcon with Han, which is pretty great. I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah. How do you feel about K2SO being back?
I mean, I was excited. You know, I love K2. I think that he's one of my. I don't know where I'd rank him in my droids, but he's up there. Okay. And I know Gilroy talked about how it's hard to write K2SO in a show that's about spying and espionage and things because it's hard to hide him, you know?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Even though he's an Imperial droid and all, but I thought that it was fun, man. I thought it was fun to have him back, and it was good to have we didn't have a whole lot with him, like you said. It's really the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
But it just felt like I know they described it this way, but it felt like a warm hug. Like, I'm like, all right, we kind of got the crew here. I know the ending is tragic, but it's nice to see the guys hanging out. I don't know.
Yeah. No, for sure. And I think the way they used him was, I loved watching him like go through, get to them, and he's like, I'm here to rescue you, or the path is clear, right? Thanks to him. Like, otherwise, I don't know if they get out of that, right?
I don't either. There's a shot of him in the hallway when he's holding the Imperial as a shield. Dude, I'm like, those like dead eyes. It is a little chilling when you just look at it. No, K2's. He just like he's holding this guy, and it's dark, and it's like I can imagine a horror scene like this. Almost like it's like the Vader scene when he's going through the hallway.
Oh,
it's a lot more jovial.
Yeah.
Because it's K2 having his hallway scene.
Yeah.
Which is really I love that too. Are you with us? No, it's just it's the guy off the.
Even him getting out of the elevator with the blaster rifle, it's like very Terminator, right?
Yes.
And I'm like, oh man, it's up for everybody here. And then you can even hear it screaming. Right?
Oh my gosh. And that I thought that scene was so, I mean, it's funny to call it fun, but it was fun.
Yeah, well, because we're watching the bad guys, we're watching the space Nazis get demolished here.
But so funny because you go from episode 8 where you have the KX droids just it is Terminator-esque.
Yeah.
It's not fun because we're seeing them help commit genocide. And then K2, that's what we got them on our side now. It's okay, but
yeah, because even
I thought it was very.
Yeah, they're like, oh, stay with the ship. Even he sees the Imperial ship land, and he's like, oh, it's not working. They shut it down, which was actually very smart. I really like how they kind of found out where Clea was, and the Imperial lady who's like messing with the radio, and she's just like super nerding out about how well she's like, oh, they've gotten on our lines, and they did this and did that, and the one guy's like, it's not the time or place. Oh, sorry, kind of thing. A little levity, right? But how they like key in on where Leia is hiding. I love that. That was really cool.
Me too.
And them being on the wrong floor because they're like, it could be 25, 26, 27. And they bust in on that family, and they're like, no, this isn't it. And those tactical troopers are really cool. Someone was telling me that the armor build, it's not Stormtrooper. It's like Shore Trooper. There's like different pieces from different trooper styles.
That's cool.
I'll have to find the build, but yeah, it's like a short trooper chest and like different trooper outfit. Well, and then they don't wear the helmets, and I was like, oh, that's super smart. Yeah, because they used to say that the helmets made them shoot worse. So them without the helmets, they're more deadly in a way.
Yeah,
and very imposing, right? These guys seem like they know what they're doing. And and then just being
This
more
does feel
tech.
like the Goon Squad kind of, like they're sending them into. Yeah, yeah, I agree. They're pretty imposing, and
Yeah, like these are body
it was a,
cam off.
for sure. And even when they threw that stun grenade, that was an
Yeah,
intense. I mean, they got thrown around. Melshi stayed up, but
yeah, and they let it
um,
cook for a little bit too because I was trying to figure out. I'm like, if I was them, I would try to like grab it
yes,
and throw it back, but
kick it
he,
or whatever.
yeah,
Yeah,
he cooks it and he throws it off the wall and it bounces in, so it's just like that much more time, um, for them to get stunned, and they do get stunned, and I was just
do
surprised they like made it that long without you know getting killed or
yes,
getting shot or whatever, but. Yeah, it's just the tension is still up, even though we know Melshi and Cassian
of
make it
course.
out right to Rogue One. There's still like a lot of
We
tension
don't know
there.
about Clea. We don't know what's
We didn't know
happening. You know what
about
I
Clea.
mean?
Yeah, yeah,
And I do love that there's so many little things that they take the time to do. Like before they got stunned, when Melshi's ready, like close the door, and Andor, Cassian's like, no, no, don't close the door, and they're kind of arguing about there's still time,
yeah,
and it's kind of they both have their own tactical ideas there, but I mean, maybe they should have. I don't know after that grenade, but I just thought, yeah, that scene was really it was intense, and even when Clea, when you see, oh, she hit her head, I'm like, oh no, like
yeah.
please, like let's not do this. I don't know if I can handle like if she lost. I don't know if she lost it
Yeah.
or whatever the case. If she doesn't make it all the way back like that, and I with Tony
Oh,
Gilroy and the
yeah, yeah.
storytelling, I wouldn't doubt it, and
Good
so
point.
I was a little nervous, which I liked that
Yeah,
I was on my toes for that.
yeah, yeah. I mean, even we skipped a lot because like she's in
We
there
did,
reaching out to them, and the woman gets it right. She is
yes.
like, there's this thing under your bed that's beeping. And so they've set up some kind of like contingency in the safe house where if you need to go there and need to get out, this is the way to do it. But they
Mhm.
didn't trust it. They thought it was a trap, right? And
Yep.
so there's that tension of there, and there's not much time left, right? Because
Yeah.
everything's coming to a head. The star's about to be activated. Um, so it's great build up, great tension. And K2 does alleviate that. So I think that's why it's better to not have them through the entire show because it's like it
Yes, I
just
agree.
tonally would just kind of throw everything. But even how like you mentioned before the Gorman stuff, we saw how devastating they are. He's still devastating. Like they showed
He
blood
is.
on the
Yes.
console, like of the people he killed because they're listening in and they're hearing all these guys get killed off. And one guy gets stomped and one guy gets kicked in the chest in the elevator. It's just like really brutal, but people love K2, right? So like, oh, this is
It's like
great.
the chopper effect, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
It's the
yeah.
chopper effect,
It is
which
a
is
dropper effect
it's
there.
same, but it's great. I mean, it's entertaining, man.
Right.
But you're right. That's a good point you make about how he does alleviate a lot of the tension, and you don't want that for a lot of the moments in Andor.
Yeah.
So of course it does fit Rogue One, right? And that's what we're leading to. So it makes a lot of sense. And I'm glad that we did get K2 for these episodes. But yeah, when we have, well, it's just Luthen is such an interesting piece of the rebellion.
Yeah.
I love when they obviously Bale doesn't like Luthen at all. He doesn't know Luthen
Yeah.
either.
It doesn't know him.
And obviously there's that scene where K2 is like, that man you don't like is here, or whatever he says. um, but I thought that it was very interesting as they get Clay back, and it's tough. Cassian again has to sort of stand up. I mean, it's tough because he has to stand up for Luthen because he knows that he's doing important things for Rebellion. Rebellion wouldn't be here.
Right.
And I don't know. I thought that was a great scene
It
too
was.
in that room back on Yavin where Mon Mothma is, she's staying reserved for most of it. It's mostly Cassian arguing with Bale and
Right.
oh my gosh,
Raven.
I'm forgetting. Yeah, yes. And Mon Mothma at the end, she does stand up like, oh, approved to go to the medical bay
Yeah,
and
yeah, go
see
to Medical Bay. Yeah,
Clea.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think Mon Mothma's it's an interesting thing about the rebellion though in general with
Yeah.
who like, yeah, I don't think Luthen is probably the face of the rebellion that you necessarily need or want.
Right.
When it's gotten to this point and you need it to grow and you need it to appeal to people who, you know, are more pressed, like you need a Mon Mothma, you need that talking head, you need the person who she was in the Senate and she fought all those years against wrongdoing in that way, and I thought it was just an interesting dynamic to have her and Andor come together. And who knows if she would have even sided with Andor as much if he had not gone and saved her. And
Right.
so they had that bond, and there's trust there.
Yeah.
But I just love that it stayed. Luthen stayed a complex character and a complicated character even through that. It's not like Andor was like, oh, it's Luthen, he's my friend, and
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. Yeah.
I trust him. It was still like, yeah, I know he's not not the easiest and not the best and makes questionable decisions and
Right.
this and
Well,
that. But
also too, because there's that year gap, we don't see Cassian and Luthen together.
yeah,
Cassian learning the ropes. We're only seeing the highlights, right, of first two their season, and um, most of probably the things they've said about Luthen is like he's manipulative. He's quick to kill people, like because it's probably mostly from Mon Mothma's point of view, right? Like
yeah,
how
yeah.
she's talking about them. Like there's nobody else that they're interacting with that I can imagine. Maybe Vel, but even
I
still,
guess Vel, yeah, Vel's there.
yes,
I mean, Willman and
yeah.
I
But I
don't
mean,
know.
I don't know if they're talking to Woman. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
so
fair.
so they have a certain specific perception of him,
Of
and
course.
it's probably not good, right? Because
Yep.
that's how I'm assuming that's how why Bill doesn't like, because Mon's his friend. Mon didn't trust him at the end, right? So I liked seeing Cassian stand up for him, especially with the important information. And I like how he tells when Vel's like, "Is this stuff true?" He's like, "I don't think Clea would lie. Luthen could lie,
Yep.
but I don't think Clea would lie, right? Because
Yep.
because there's been interactions with Clay and Cassian where she's just like, yeah, you're tired, it sucks, but you're gonna keep
Yeah.
doing it. She's very blunt, and she's not like speaking in circles or tell you the truth.
Yep.
And what's great about this last episode, and I really like it because it's a debate. It doesn't end in a huge war, right? That's what Rogue One is. This
Yep.
is a debate about trust, still trying to believe each other, and characters mourning who they lost. And it's so cool to kind of have that calm, because it's the calm before the Rogue One, right? But it is also the
This.
closure of this season. And we see great interactions with Bell and Mon, Cassian, Willman telling Willman that Luthen's dead, because they also had a stint that we didn't get to see on in the show, but Willman trusted Luthen and was doing assignments for him. And then Bell and Cassian, and he's in contact with Bix,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And I love that
Got
because
me.
Sylvia was like, "Why wouldn't Cassian just go find her? Right? She shouldn't be that hard to find." And
Yeah.
I was like, "Yeah, that's a good point." And he just is like, "She left, and I'm still here, and I'm gonna keep doing it until see it all the way through," kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I love it because Vel goes like, "Don't take too long." And it just reminded me when she ran into Cinta and there was that whole year gap and she was missing her and never checked in, and found out like Cinta was hurt. And then they like reconnected, and they probably was ideas of what they would do in the future, but those moments are taken away from you. So it's like, you probably should go see Vixen. And everyone's like, do it. Don't go to Rogue One. Like, don't go there. You're going to die. Don't
Hate him.
go. It's just so, because we know, but they don't know. And it's just so
But
tragic.
they make it even worse. They made it even worse. I mean, they had to give him a kid, man. They had
Oh,
to. Oh,
yeah.
it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, and it's a symbol of hope. And I think that's wonderful, and I love it. And it's Star Wars at its core. But oh my gosh, you're right when she says, don't wait too long. I get it. She left him for this reason, and it's not leaving for forever. It's supposed to be. She knows he's important and he needs to be here, and
Yeah.
he knows that at this point. And there's a lot going on right now, so it's probably not the best time to be like, I'm gonna go take a sabbatical to see Bix. But that was pretty. That twisted my insides a little bit, because it just made me. I just had, if they were gonna show Bix again, I knew it. They were gonna have a kid,
Yeah. Well,
and
okay. So in the last episode, I said there was a prediction I heard, a friend of the show, Holoscan Database. He said before the show even started, he goes, "I think Bix is gonna be pregnant." He messaged me. I have that in my messages, and I was like,
yeah,
that actually probably will happen, because again, the Andor thing is the last name, adoptive family. It starts with Cassian being looking for a sister, and then now he has an adoptive mother, and then he's grabbing all these people as he goes, and like it makes total sense for this to be Andor, the family, the son, right? And it was just so beautiful. What a beautiful
It was beautiful
moment, and you're like, oh, she had a kid, and you think about I will find you, and he's like, I'll after this is done, I'll go find her. I'll go back. So
The crazy
heartbreaking.
thing about it is if we didn't have Rogue One, it would be so hopeful. I'm like, oh man, they're gonna, they have a baby. He's gonna go back to her, and we're gonna have this happy family. But we don't. It would be so
No, we
incredibly
don't.
like.
But it also makes more sense too, where she's like, well, if and I think we talked about it off cam, but if he knows that she's pregnant, he ain't doing this rebellion thing anymore.
100%, 100%.
Because he didn't
100%.
have his parents. Like he wants to be there for his kid, like a good dad, right? So,
but at the same time, like Bix, why would you want to bring this child into the world? If I'm assuming she knew she was pregnant, you don't want to bring it into the world ruled by the Empire,
exactly. Yeah, for sure. And what was I gonna say? I can't. But yeah, it was so hopeful. Good. The sunset thing, it reminds me of when the Death Star hit Scarif, and it's great, but it's tragic. And
we got B2.
I really hope. Yeah,
Your best bud.
I don't know. I guess I'm a droid hater. I don't know. They're not allowed in this cantina. Get them out of here. I see what they did during the Clone Wars. I know what they're at. I had a crazy thought because it's like a and I'm looking at the pictures now, so I don't think it is. When I saw it for the second time, I was trying to look at what she's holding the baby in, because it doesn't look exactly like it's a blanket of some sort. But I was like, what if that's Brasso's like shirt or something from when they were on Minrao? Oh, but we also called that too when those episodes happened. I was saying this is probably a place they would stay because they seem genuinely happy. They feel genuinely safe. And yeah, she went back to Minrao. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah.
But I love the scene with Vel and Cassian, and she runs the names off all the characters. One, like Gore, who I think was the lieutenant there, was running that the Imperial base, and then Nemec, of course, Marva, Gormans, Ferrix. I love that scene. I'm just toast. Cinta, Brasso. Did they mention Brasso? I hope they mentioned. Left down a name.
No, they didn't because I pointed it out. I said no love for Brasso. Dang. I pointed it out when we were watching it. Yeah, they didn't.
I'm trying to think though if Vel even met Brasso.
Maybe in the finale brief or something. Probably not met. Probably knew who he was or saw him or whatever.
Yeah, but I don't think that
but no, I don't think she knew him. Yeah.
But so the Vel stuff, that was probably one of my favorite. And even her talking to Clea, because Clea doesn't feel comfortable there at all.
No.
Again,
yeah, it was a great scene when she finds her in the rain and takes her in, and
yeah, and I have friends everywhere comes up, and she's like, you're around friends, amongst friends. Yep. And her just watching Melshi and Pow and them running through at the end, and then she kind of like smiles, like, oh, okay, cool, like they are here to like do something.
Yeah.
And then like the nod to the Force healer, he sees her, and what an epic like the music's
yes. The swell of music was excellent. Yeah. The slow-mo was used very well.
He has the haircut.
He has a haircut. He's got trimmed. Yeah. He's trimmed up, Yeah.
He's gonna go find
a jacket.
Oh, the jacket was so cool. But yeah, and we don't have much time, but
no.
Were you able to rewatch Rogue One yet?
Yeah.
How did you feel about watching the show and then watching Rogue?
I thought it was an awesome experience, man. I thought it was really cool. Because it's a lot more weight behind a lot of the characters, I mean, you just know, is even with Krennic, you know what he's got, what's happening there, and with he knows that these Death Star, at least what the Death Star is, has been leaked, and with obviously the casting, there's a lot of more weight there. So I thought it carried a lot more for me, you know. And I will admit, I did watch Rogue One 4 times in the last 4 weeks. After every
Nice.
chunk of episodes, I watched it, so it was pretty fresh in the mind. I
Yeah.
just couldn't help myself, and I watched Andor, and it's like, now watch Rogue One. I'm like,
Yeah.
all right,
Okay.
I just click it.
Oh, there's a couple
But
things
yeah,
I.
I thought it aided to it. What?
Yeah,
Yeah, go
yeah.
ahead.
There's a couple things I wanted to mention too that I just remembered. Um, I loved. I didn't realize, and maybe it's just me. I didn't realize. Um, gosh, my brain just broke.
Okay.
Benjamin Bratt plays Bail Organa, and Bail is kind of leading the council, and I didn't realize that. I always thought it was like Mon Mothma's thing, but they kind of like
Yeah.
go to
Yeah.
him, right? And I was like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, and then Saw Gerrera talking to Mon, and I love he's like, what is it? I hope you fight as good as you
Oh
lie.
yes.
I
Yes.
love that.
I
He's
love
like,
that scene too. Just like
Jeddah,
so
who's
frustrated with him
on
too.
Jeddah?
Like, we know you're taking it. You know, I love that scene. We know you're taking out these Imperial, but you're the reason that, the Star Destroyer's there now, and
What
it's
you talking about?
you lost it off. He was off the fumes.
Yeah, yeah. And then that another thing, just talking about Saw, it's a different thing where you see him hitting the Rhino, right? And you thought,
Yeah.
oh, it's just he can't breathe. Nah,
Yes.
he's going hard
But it
on the
makes so
Rhino.
much sense too, because it's like, yeah, if you can't breathe normally, like he only does that sometimes. It's not like he's a fiend, man.
I wish we knew what happened to his legs, though. That was the one thing I was like, oh, I forgot he has cybernetic legs, but
I
obviously
forgot.
probably part of the
Yeah.
drugs. Um, uh, but going into Bale and Cassian talking, and I loved
Yes.
how they don't like each other, they don't know each other very well, and he's like, oh, you and Luthien would probably get along. Um, I love how it ends though, where he's like, "May the Force be with you," and I'm not
Yes.
sure. Did anyone else say that to him yet?
I feel like someone had to have, but I can't think of anything off top.
Yeah, but like kind of a someone in the show outside of that Force healer, kind of giving that. It just seemed like a bigger thing in the moment,
Yeah,
right?
I agree.
For
And
someone to say to him, with all the things that happened, and so yeah, I just found that really interesting because he doesn't say
I don't
anything
remember
back.
who asked me though. I had a friend who asked me like, "What is like Bale's saying May the Force be with you?" Like, what? And I had to remind him because I think they had been a while since I saw the movies. Like, oh no, he picked up Yoda after he lost, against Palpatine. He knows. He
He's been
knows.
there. He's been there. He's
He's
seen
been
some
around.
things. Yeah.
He's friends with Obi-Wan and all them. But yeah, it did feel like a little more there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you. I really enjoyed watching Benjamin Bratt play Bail Organa here, but I'm wondering what it would have been like to see Jimmy Schmitz do this part because it's more
I
cutting
know.
and it's more brash. Where I feel like Jimmy Schmitz is more of like he's the warm hug whenever I see him on screen. He seems like he has like
I
he brings
agree.
levity, but this time it's more intense and more controversial,
You
right?
know,
So
I've seen Jimmy Smits play that though a few times, and I do wish, like, I love Benjamin Bratt. I have no qualms whatsoever with. I thought that was an awesome recast.
yeah,
Uh, as good of a recast as I could think of. I wouldn't have thought of it. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
But I do. It is. I'm a little sad that Jimmy Smits didn't get to do the best Bail Organa material that
yeah,
we've had.
yeah,
Um, Even though it's still limited, but definitely the most to chew on there.
yeah,
I would have loved to seen him with that more, kind of brash material.
yeah.
I think he would have killed it. I've seen him do a couple things,
No, I don't think he
but
would. I'm just super curious how it would have,
yeah,
how it would
I'm
look.
curious.
Yeah,
It would probably would have been different. Yeah,
yeah,
and for sure. But I thought because you're right, he is always sort of like the warm hug. He's optimistic. It's nice when he pops up,
yeah,
but it would have been fun to see that turned on its head a bit in the way that he wasn't necessarily that.
yeah,
Yeah, very interesting.
yeah. That's kind of one thing I'm like, oh, I would love. I would have loved to see that. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, I liked seeing the was annoying, right? Because we know as the audience what's really going on in the council, just totally not believing it,
Yes.
and it was cool seeing General Raditz there, walking around and
Yes.
orders. I was like, oh, that's cool. Like we usually just see him kind of like all tied to the chair, right? I always think of
Yeah.
those characters just in a chair all the time.
It's just they're born in the chair.
Yeah, yeah. But I thought that was a awesome cameo from Rogue One. We were saying who we're gonna see from Rogue One, and it's him
It was a cool one.
and Raiden. Um, but yeah, uh, great, great 3 episodes. I want to ask you now.
Yeah.
Would you, or if you would like to, for me to rate them
You
first?
know what? You rate it first. Yeah, let's change it up for
Oh
the final.
man, and that's the thing is like
Let's see it.
as season finales go, this
Yeah.
ranks as one of the best ones for sure. Because like
Yeah, I agree.
so many of these big shows, I'm like, are they going to drop the ball? Is it going to feel satisfying? It does. It actually does, and I think
I
it
agree.
ties into Rogue One seamlessly. There's very little like plot holy things besides like just the time look back time things.
Sure.
That's very minimal. Um, I love the show. I think this ends it well. There's just something in me that's saying to me I can't. I'm not gonna say it's a 10 out of 10. Like
Sure. Yeah.
there's something that it's not perfect, but it's still very good. So that being said, 9.5.
9.5 is very nice. I'm very close to you. I might be right there. It's so tough once you get to that 9 territory for me.
Yeah.
I do think that it's rare that you have this many threads and they all tie up in ways that I'm satisfied with
Yeah.
or love, you know? I mean, you have a lot of characters, Daedra and oh my gosh, and Bix and
Oh
Luthen
right.
and
Yeah.
all these characters ends I'm happy with and I'm into. What do
Sorry,
you
real
got?
quick. And then Perrin with Skolden's wife was also
Oh my
unexpected
gosh.
and great.
Yes, yes,
I
yes,
was like, oh,
yes.
that's
That
someone I
was
didn't expect to see.
I
But real quick, if I could just talk about that, I know we're doing the ratings.
yes,
We'll get back to it.
100%,
But it's
100%.
cool because like Mon leaves, exiles to the rebellion, right? But then
Yeah.
like, why is he with Golden's wife? A couple of things could be where Golden could be on the rebellion side, or he could be investigated because he is the thread to Mon Mothma's funding of the rebellion because she borrowed money from him, right? So he could be under Imperial investigation, arrested, because if they go through it, if they look what Mon did the speech, they're looking through stuff and they're like, where did this was like 400,000 credits or something crazy.
Yeah.
Tay's gone, right? So you don't have Tay to scapegoat, and so it's just him. And I thought that was cool. And they're like, oh well, I'm single, and I still want to be the socialite, and parents single now, so crazy.
It was definitely a crazy reveal there at the
Yeah,
end. I think I'll give it I feel so much weight on this answer. I'll give it a 9.5 also. I'm gonna give it
okay,
9.5. I was set on 9 when we started this.
yeah,
But I do think that the more we talked about it, I love it even more. So then it's fair to go up half a point.
yeah. I mean, I usually go what went wrong, but also it's constraints are it has to lead into Rogue One, and I think they do that well, and they, like you said, they wrap every story up fairly nicely. Um, and so yeah, I don't really have any.
Yeah. And also I think a big thing for me, especially with series finales, like I like to feel something, you know, and I did feel something
Yeah,
in the end. It did get me emotional in some way, you know, and I think that's important to me to like to get it over 9. It has to hit me in the feels a little bit, and it got me there. So that pushed it that last point 5.
and I was satisfied, and even watching it, I could probably watch it through. Like
I agree.
this
Yeah.
is very rewatchable. The moments are still good. The writing's still good. Story's great. It's
This
up there in the
this is
pan.
a show where I think would be great for like people who I don't know if I'm trying to convince someone to watch it, I would gladly watch it with them. You know what I mean? Like it
Yeah,
wouldn't be like, oh yeah, you should watch it. But no, this would be like I'll watch it with you, instead of there's some shows that I love, but I don't necessarily want to watch all the way
Right.
through again.
Yeah.
But I would watch this again. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, what a great show. And look, thinking back, I'm like, no one asked for an Andor, Cassian Andor show. Because I remember I was like, what? Andor?
Yeah, I know. All right, I guess. All
Yes,
right,
yeah.
that's fine. Like,
but
I feel like there's so many people's thoughts, mine included. Yeah.
Yeah. But maybe we'll do like a full season review and theorize of what could happen next. Right? If Disney can shell the money up for Gilroy to
Tony
keep
Gilroy continues stories that nobody asked for. The Yoda series.
If his name's tied to it, bro, I would give it
Yeah,
I'd be like, yes. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think this is going to mean a lot for Star Wars moving forward, the movies moving forward, for maybe good or bad. I mentioned it at the top, but yeah, maybe we can save that for another episode here very soon.
Been an honor.
It has been an honor, man. And as great as it was to do the first season, this was just as fun. And I wish we could do 12 weeks long, but we got what we got, and I'm still happy, right? I'm still satisfied. And thank you so much for making the time to be here with me. And everyone else who has joined us for this crazy, crazy month of Andor episodes. Let us know what your favorite moment was in the comments, and make sure you're subscribed here on the Raincore channel. And also, we're going to be doing more Star Wars stuff. We still got to cover Celebration, bro.
I know we got to do that. We have to do that
too.
But hey, we have time now. Andor's over.
Yeah, Andor's got some time. I haven't even watched Last of Us. I'm like way behind in everything. It's been insane.
I'm behind too.
And we're going into the summer movie season, so we're definitely going to be talking about movies.
Yes,
for sure. Me and Eli we even did it before we started us talking about Sinners. So if you guys want us to talk about something, let us know. Hit us in the DMs. Make sure you're subscribed here on the Raincore channel again and on IG. Where can people find you? Eli?
Find me at the Fan Awakens everywhere, and that's pretty much it.
Well, thank you again for everyone taking the time to watch. And with that being said, you're Chewy.